Hello and welcome to the third part of our YOUVI Best Practices series. This video is about how to prepare YOUVI when having multiple panels in one project. To do this, first of all, I'll show you the steps for setup. After that, we'll talk about what to consider during installation. Then we'll set up the visualization, and then we'll set up the dashboards for the different clients. Let's take a look at our setup. A Control Pro functions as a central panel and the YOUVI server. It is connected to the KNX network and to the IP network. Over the network, the visualization is distributed to different client panels and mobile devices. The procedure is recommended for a Windows computer and will be shown in this video, but preparation also works with other PCs. For a Windows computer, we install the server on the panel with KNX access. The YOUVI client is installed on the Windows computer. Then we go to the configuration menu and set up the basic settings. Then we check the imported project. Then we install and set up add-ons if needed. After that, a central backup of the YOUVI server is created. In the next step, local settings for the client visualization are made. Namely, setting up the dashboard of the visualization. This is done on the computer as well. Then a client backup is made and then played onto the respective panel. You then do that for the other dashboards from other client panels. If you have a PC that is not having a Windows OS, then you proceed similarly. After installing the YOUVI server on the panel, you continue to work on the panel. The configuration menu of the server can also be reached via your browser. Therefore, enter the local IP address of your PEAKnx touch panel, followed by a colon, and the port 31226. The port can vary depending on the ports already taken on your computer. If 31226 does not work, try 31228. You can also find the server IP address through the server access. I'll show you that again later when it comes to configuration. After that, you also check again in the visualization how the project was imported. You can do it directly on the panel, however I recommend to use software such as AnyDesk or TeamViewer to prepare the panel. Now follow the same steps as before. You can now also install and set up add-ons if needed. After that, make a central backup, then set up the local dashboards on the respective panels, and make a backup of that. Step 1. The installation. We'll go through that now together in practice. I will first install the YOUVI server on the central panel. I am connected via TeamViewer to our central panel, the Control Pro. Here you see the installation application. In addition, I transferred my KNX project to the desktop. Now we double-click the AutoStart file. The installer loads and we follow the installation instructions. There is not much to consider during the installation. In the second step, YOUVI will show you a list if it finds other server instances in the network. This only happens if you already install the YOUVI server on another panel in the network, otherwise this list will be empty. In this case, we select Server and click on Next. Now we're going to upload our ETS project. The ETS project is now read in and YOUVI server and client are installed on the panel. The installation is now finished. We can continue on our PC. I will now install the client. For this, I start the AutoStart file as before. I select the client option and click on Next. While YOUVI is being installed as a client, we go back to our central panel and open the configuration menu. For this, we open the taskbar and click once on this house icon. If the KNX status is shown as limited, we switch to the KNX tab and connect to the other connector. In the configuration menu, we can now install the visualization. Meanwhile, we look at our PC. Here the installation is already finished. We can go to the configuration menu on the PC by clicking on the greenhouse. Now we install the visualization on our personal computer. Step 2. Making basic settings. For this, we start on our computer. For further settings, we go to General. Here we give our server a unique name, for example the address of your project. Now I will show you the server selection. For this you do a right-click on the greenhouse and select Server. If you set up several servers at the same time, this is where you have an overview over YOUVI servers in the network. You are also making sure to be configuring the correct server when opening the configuration over this window. That is why it is also important to name the server uniquely if you want to work in parallel. So you select the server here and a connection to the server will be established. When you close the window, the configuration for this server is automatically opened. Here you will also see the IP address of the server. It is needed if you want to access the configuration from another PC. Step 3. Reviewing the project and adding additional functions. To view the project, we now open the visualization on our PC. And we then connect to our panel. And when we're connected, we turn on the edit mode here and go to the house overview. Now we see the entire project as it was imported. If you have created multiple floors, you can also switch between the floors here. We now look at each tile individually by clicking on the gear. Check the name, the device type, the room assignment. And here via the wrench we can also check the group addresses. You then check those parameters for all devices. To do this, go through the different rooms. All devices which YOUVI could not assign to a room end up in the folder Unassigned Devices. If you notice that there are big differences between the expected result and the actual project import, then I would recommend you to watch the second video of this series, which is about how to best prepare the ETS import. If that's the case and you need to upload the project again, then you go back to the configuration, to the projects page, and delete your project here, and then add the new project. We now assume that the project import has worked well. If all the devices in the visualization are correct, we can also create additional functions. As soon as there is more than one device of the same type in the room, a group tile is created for this device type. On the device filter page, devices are ordered by trades. In the upper left corner, a group tile for the building is created. Over the filter icon, you can also filter group tiles for floors or other building parts. But if these group tiles are not enough for you, there is also the possibility to create group functions specifically, and to make a device selection, for example for lights groups, for heating groups, and so on. It is also possible to create different scenes. The weather station is available even without the respective KNX sensors, although KNX sensors can be used for it as well. For this you select the device type weather station and enter your location here. Further trigger buttons are also available. You can then add those as well. Step 4. Install and set up add-ons. This step is optional. To set up modules, simply go to the dashboard, install the desired module or the desired bridge, and set it up. However, be careful here. You can install any module even though you don't have a full license. Under licenses you can see what the status of the module is. Each module comes with a 90-day trial license. Then you would have to purchase the module in our store and unlock the license. Once you have the add-on set up, all the central functions are configured. Step 5. Create a server backup. You can access the central backup as follows. To do this, go to the General page and click on Create Backup. And then a YOUVI backup will be downloaded. The next step is to set up the individual dashboards for the clients. To do that, we're going to go back to the visualization. We've now created all the central functions, and now we're just going to make the distinction for the individual client panels. To do that, we'll go to this dashboard icon here and the tile will pop up on the dashboard. This individual dashboard can be different for each panel even though it's connected to the same server. And we'll store that later in a local backup. I'll set up this dashboard here now. I can put anything on it that has this dashboard icon. That means rooms can be pinned to the dashboard too, as well as group functions. For example, I want to set up my dashboard for the eat-in kitchen, so I'm just going to pin a few devices from the eat-in kitchen to my dashboard. I can also unfold these room buttons, and then I can also see the central functions for the respective room on the tile. I can use the layouts to give my dashboard a bit more structure. What's noticeable here now is that we don't have the same scaling as on the panels. That means we're going to take another look at the scaling on our panels now. We are adjusting now for the Control Pro. For this we need a scaling of 125% at a resolution of 1920 by 1080. With those parameters, the Control Pro can fit 5 big tiles in width and 2 of these large tiles plus a half tile and a quarter tile in height. That means I'm going to change the scaling here on my PC to have the same display as on the Control Pro. For this I set the scaling to 125%, and I already have the same resolution. And then I'll switch back to the visualization. We see now here everything has become a little bit bigger, and now we can move the tiles, just like they will be displayed later on the Control Pro. With this adapted scaling I avoid the problem that rows move later. I would like to have a 3-part layout here now, so I'm changing again. The tiles are all movable via drag and drop. The room button in its small shape acts as a shortcut into the room. We can place all the group functions together. If I want to set this area more apart, I put some placeholders between the tiles. We can also display the tiles in large or small. But we can also change the button style of the tiles. So that's how the dashboard is set up. We can now add more dashboard pages here, and then on the other pages we can also add web widgets or cameras or more tiles. When the dashboard is set up, we'll go to the settings and make a local backup. This brings us to step 7, create client backups and transfer them. In the client backup, not only the dashboard is included, but we can also set temperatures for the title bar. For example, the temperature from our eat-in kitchen and the temperature from the weather station for outdoor and indoor temperature. We can also change the app theme here, which is also then saved in this backup. Whether you want to lock the edit mode with a password is stored in there, and the temperature limit is part of the client backup. But you can also read all this again in the help file. If you go to the page Create Backups, you will also find the content of the 2 different backups that you can make in YOUVI. This is how it looks in the dark version. I like it just a bit better in the light design, so I go back again and save it in the light design. For this I just go to Save. Now, to restore this backup to my customer panel, I'm going to transfer the backup file to the panel, and then do the next steps on the panel. I have now loaded the backup onto the panel, and will now open the visualization. We're reconnecting to our server. Once we've connected to the server, we'll go back into the settings. We select Load and read in the backup file. Now we see that the temperature values have been transferred. The dashboard we set up has been transferred to the Control Pro in the same way we created it. Once you have the dashboard set up on the first client panel, you can do the same for other client panels in the project. Set up the dashboard, make a backup, and then apply that backup to that particular panel. I hope this video was helpful for you. You can find out more about us on social media at PEAKnx. And now I wish you a good time setting up YOUVI.